Hello, Transurfer and the Transurfing Curious. My name is Renee Garcia, and this is Transurfing TV. And today, how to ghost your lower self. Ooh. I don't know what the ghost is about, if it's the ghosting or the lower self. It's kind of a little bit of both. But this video is going to be about, I don't want to say ghosting so much because our lower selves are, in a way, just as valuable as our higher selves when we get the formula correct to who we should be paying attention to, right? Because the lower self for me can actually now be a little bit of a guide anytime someone asks me to do something that's outside of my comfort zone, or I decide I'm going to do something outside of my comfort zone on my own, and that little voice comes up and says, oh, you can't do that, or you're going to embarrass yourself, or that's intended for other people. This is exactly the moment that I know that I should then do that, right? It's almost like my lower self trying to negate whatever it is I'm doing or talk me out of it is my cue that this is exactly what I need to do, because this is how I expand, evolve, right? My evolution to that higher version of myself is a little bit, that moment is a threshold for me to push through so I can continue on with my momentum. So I don't want my lower self to be gone entirely. I just don't want my lower self to be steering the ship, right? Which is what a lot of people do. They're letting their lower self steer the ship, and the higher self is always trying to convince the team to go in a higher direction. And usually it's the lower self convincing otherwise, and then obviously self buying into it. So I'm going to break this down, how to ghost your lower self to the extent where your lower self isn't in the driver's seat any longer. Before I get started, remember to like this video and comment below. My world is taking care of me, to enter my daily giveaway for my reprogramming stickers and Reality 2.0 on Teachable. Down below, check the link out. You can see all the details of what the course consists of, and tons and tons and tons of reviews and all that good stuff. So take a look. Join us on Facebook, the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group, and Instagram, reality_transurfing. Join me, y'all. So how to ghost your lower self. Okay, so I have a few little tips and tricks that I do. I'm going to run through these first, and then I'm going to give you what I do, some tips and tricks I follow. First, and this is really the most valuable step you can take in self-development in general. I mean, this is really, really, really big. It's a monumental step. And if you can take this first step, you've already won so much. This is really just a big, 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 huge first step, and tackle this one and you're pretty much good to go with everything else. So determine lower thoughts holding you back. Determine your lower thoughts that are holding you back. So more so than just determining your lower thoughts that are holding you back, it's about hearing that internal dialogue, right? And I gave a video a few days ago on observing self. And if you are challenged, and I know a number of you that watch these videos are still challenged to gain some momentum, to gain some headway, to start doing something in a new direction. And without taking this first step, determining the lower thoughts holding you back, you're going to remain stuck. This has to be established. So go back and watch that video observing again, if you did not see it. And this is kind of my process. Is I let my thoughts run, right? I let my thoughts run whenever I feel like observing myself. If I'm in a relaxed state, if I'm in a state of, I love to do this when I'm exercising. So when I'm exercising, I just kind of let the thing do its thing. And I observe what is there without trying to stop it, without trying to redirect it, without trying to negate it. I just see what's going on. I think about my day. I think about all this stuff in my life right now. And I just sort of watch my thoughts about myself and my reality unfold without me trying to overtly influence. I observe. Now, in this observation, I can pinpoint if I'm in a state of lucidity and awareness. I can pinpoint lower thoughts that are holding me back, right? So then when I have pinpointed those lower thoughts holding me back, then I can start the task of separating from them, not identifying with them, right? Not assuming my bond with them so that becomes my reality. So I sort of like quarantine these lower thoughts, and I allow my higher self to get into dialogue with that lower version of me and say, no, that's not what we're doing anymore, little stupid. No. That's not what we're doing anymore. We're doing this now. Okay, we're doing this now, and we've already talked about this. We can do this, and this is what we're doing now. So it's kind of like I extract those lower thoughts. I put them in their place, and the best way to put them in their place is to overpower them with more positive thoughts in the opposite direction. Okay, so this gets me to action. Determine lower actions holding you back or fear of action. So this is, it goes beyond this just a little bit, but I'll explain this briefly. It's the same thing as the, lower thoughts, quarantining the lower thoughts, but determine lower actions holding you back or fear of action. And when you start to really act out of those lower thoughts. Okay, so those lower thoughts obviously become lower actions or lack thereof, fear of action or not taking action. And again, it's about acknowledging where that bridge has occurred, right? Where it was a thought, and then you started to pull that thought into physical reality in form of action or lack thereof. So then acknowledging what lower actions, and this could be something like, you need to get up off your butt and start creating your own thing that you've been thinking about for a while, but instead you're just laying there mindlessly scrolling Instagram. Okay. So determining what it is that you're physically doing that is connected to the lower version of yourself, the version of yourself that has a fear of taking action, the version of yourself that doesn't know what to do and kind of just wants to stay oblivious, doesn't want to figure it out, all that kind of stuff. So I actually wrote it down here, actions and thoughts in opposite directions. So this gets me to the action part of how to negate all of this. And this is, again, where the rubber meets the road. Without action, without real concrete action in physical reality, in my opinion, lower self is going to continue to be running the show. So for me personally, I knew a lot of my evolution with what it is that I'm doing. I had to take action in the opposite direction of my lower natured thoughts. I had to take action in the opposite direction of my lower nature actions. I do not scroll Instagram anymore. I do not look at the media anymore. I do not get on the phone and text and gossip with friends during the day anymore, because that's all lower nature stuff. I am in the action of acting out of those lower nature thoughts and actions. And when you do this, all of those lower nature parts of self really start to diminish. And then the thoughts, the lower thoughts, almost become obsolete. They don't even exist. I don't hear them anymore. And when I do hear them, I can right away, I know exactly what's going on. There's no ambiguity. It's not like it has the same impact it did pre-transurfing, where I would buy into some lower nature thought, hook, line, and sinker. Now, as I act away from my lower nature thoughts and actions, they become even more obvious when they pop up in my reality now. It's the same with action. So if I'm walking by a television that's on, media's pumping, and it's something really good, like really good, and I'm walking by and I'm like, ugh, I know right in that moment, okay, this is it. That's a lower nature action. As you continue to keep this sort of activity in your mind of connecting to higher actions and higher thoughts and taking concrete action towards those higher thoughts and moving away from the lower actions to take higher action, it will be like a big blaring siren going on when lower action stuff, lower thought stuff comes into your external environment. Allow the voice of your higher self to negate the voice of your lower self. That is a really big one. This is, and I'll get into my higher self meditation in a moment. This is a big one. Both of those voices are going to be there, right? They are. But allowing your higher self to be able to dominate the conversation and say, no, this is what we're doing now. This is what we're doing. And sure enough, and this is really where slides come into play. So slides is really just an imagination, an imaginative version of reality that your higher self's created. So here's the thing, you can show your lower self that slide, right? So anytime the lower self starts to pop up, run that slide, right? Have your higher self run the slide for the lower self, because you're going to just kind of like take that lower self along with you. The lower self isn't going to have any ability to not come along for the ride. So in a time where you notice you kick into, I'm not good enough, or I don't know how to do it, or this isn't working, or you're going to fail, or they're doing it better, or whatever, start running that slide. So run that slide whenever lower self kicks in. Okay, anytime you have a lower thought, write it down and rip it up and throw it in the garbage. So I love physical actions that have to do with thoughts and physical reality, especially with negative ones, because something happens to the brain when we see it get ripped up or burned or something like that. That's why I love that limiting belief burn. It's powerful when you see your beliefs being burned. The next time you encounter that belief, you're like, wait a second, I burned you. And all of a sudden that belief doesn't come in as much. And when it does, then you just remind yourself and the belief that it was burned. It's like you've created a ritual that is going to keep that lower thought on notice, right? It's like keeping that lower thought on notice. No, I burned you. So a quick way to do it, especially if you're sitting at the desk, or your workplace or whatever, and you have some lower thought about money, write it down. If you have some lower thought about yourself, write it down. Write it down, rip it up, and throw it in the garbage can. The next time that thought pops up, do the same thing. And I promise you, that thought starts to leave. It really, really does. Okay, so higher self meditation. I've given this in a past video. I've recommended it in a few. I'm going to tell you all how to do it now. If you're interested, it's very, very easy. You get into a meditative position, quiet, 15 minutes to half an hour max. It doesn't need to be long. You could do it an hour if you wanted to. You could do it once a week. You could do it once a month. You could do it every day until you really have a firm connection with higher self. But this really, really works. So you sit in a meditative position and you just sort of let everything around you fade away. And you imagine that you're surrounded by the alternative space. And you see off in the distance, eyes closed, that there's a door, like a glowing door. And this door opens, okay? And from this door walks out the highest version of you. So you are going to just form a connection with that higher version of you as that version of you walks towards you. And as that version of you walks towards you, you are going to pay attention to things like how your highest self looks. Maybe they're thinner, more in shape. Maybe their skin's looking healthier. Maybe hair's looking healthier. Maybe posture's better. Maybe the clothes are better. Maybe the cleanliness is better. Maybe there's some other characteristic. Maybe you're not struggling with a health issue that's visual. Maybe, who knows, but just envision that absolute optimal high version of you. Then as the high version of you gets closer and closer and closer and closer, pay attention to things like facial expression and level of happiness. Do the highest version of you look really alive? What does the face look like? How bright are the eyes? Is the higher version of you smiling? So as they get up closer and closer and closer to you, the more detail you can imagine, the better. So once your higher self is in front of you, then you can listen to your higher self. Maybe your higher self will say something. Maybe you can ask your higher self a question and wait for an answer. Maybe you can just look into the face of your higher self. Maybe something else happens. Who knows? But what this meditation does, and then you'll just, have a conversation, resonate with your higher self, then allow your higher self to walk away and go back through that door and close the door and then wake up from your meditation, right? So as you do this meditation, what happens is that idea of your higher self becomes more static in your daily life. And I call this higher self riding shotgun. So now it's like I have this high version of myself that is always with me, right? Always, always, always with me. The other day I went to the grocery store and I parked and I got out of the car and there was a brand new BMW parked right in front of the grocery store, straddling the line between two handicap spaces. They didn't have a handicap placard and they were just straddling the line. So essentially they weren't taking one handicap space, they were taking two of them, and went into the store and left their car like that. Well, I'll be honest, the lower version of myself thought, I'm going to key that car when I come out. I'm going to take a key and I'm going to run it all along the side of that car. So after I had that thought, higher self right there along with me was like, hell no, you're not doing that. You are absolutely not doing that. And then my higher self went into dialogue of exactly why lower self should not key the BMW out in front of the freaking grocery store. And this is part of the reason why I wear this necklace as well. This is my guardian angel and my higher self on this necklace. So the more you have a connection with the high version of yourself, the more you believe in your higher self, you feel as though your higher self is almost ghost-like to you, always with you, always there, always willing to give guidance, always willing to lead you in higher thoughts and higher actions. Slowly but surely, the voice of your lower self will be tuned out. And in times like my example I just gave was saying, I'm going to key that car in the driveway. Yeah, a little voice is going to come out and say, hey, you should do this. It's going to be really cool and really fun. But if you have a firm connection with that higher version of yourself, very quickly, that idea, that thought, that other voice will be negated. So remember, allow voice of higher self to negate the voice of the lower self. It's a huge one. This is huge. This is huge. This is huge. So what is your relationship with the voice of your higher self? What's the relationship with the voice of your lower self? How can you overpower your lower self? How can you start amping up the voice of your higher self, leading you in some higher directions to higher lifelines, higher versions of yourself, higher experiences, higher thoughts, higher actions, all that higher stuff? Let me know in the comments, y'all. Remember to like this video and comment and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.